Well, hello there. How are you going today? Thanks for joining me. My name's Campbell, and it's time to take another stroll through the strange realm that we find ourselves in. So let's get into it.
Befriended a group of children in the Indonesia part of the Asia, and they are so close now. You can see here in this videographer ridge, they said that 3 months ago they were out hooting and hollering, having a good time in the ocean, and the whale swam up to them, and they got super scared, and they started swimming as fast as they could to shore. And then one of the boys noticed a glimmering object on the side of the whale's mouth, and when they looked closer, it was a massive fishing hook. Someone was trying to catch the whale with a lure, and so they were able to get it out. And after that, they said the whale will not leave the coastline where these children live. And so they wake up every morning and they go out and they play with it and give it company. On the school days, they've got to go to school first and do their schoolwork. But as soon as they get home, they go out there, and they've nicknamed the whale Budi, B-U-D-I. And they said that the bond between human and animal here is just like an energy that people have never seen before.
Udi the whale. That's pretty cool. And yeah, it is illegal to talk or to dolphins. I think whales are in there too. But, whales are, they're, and dolphins, right, are linked to us, to humans. There's always been a relationship, right, with whales and dolphins and whale dreaming and all this kind of stuff. So we need to make this connection and keep it strong because, guys, we're all earthlings. This is not a simulation. This is not a prison planet. This is not a place we need to escape from. This is a place we need to reconnect with.
In the heliocentric model of the cosmos, the moon revolves around the Earth 13 times per year, traveling at 2,288 miles per hour, while the Earth revolves around the Sun once per year, traveling at 67,000 miles per hour. The following model and animation illustrate how this is supposed to occur. As you can see, since the moon is revolving around the Earth, which itself is revolving around the Sun, in order to maintain its regular orbit, the moon would have to be constantly and drastically changing its speed in ways completely unaccounted for by the model. In the outer part of its orbit, the moon would have to speed up 67,000 miles per hour, in addition to its regular speed of 2,288 miles per hour, just to keep up with the Earth. So the moon would then be traveling at 69,288 miles per hour when it reached the front of the Earth. At this point, since the moon is allegedly 240,000 miles away from the Earth would catch up in just 4 hours, so the moon must continue traveling 67,000 miles per hour along Earth's trajectory, while simultaneously continuing its now perpendicular 2,288 mile per hour second trajectory. Then, as it turns to reach the inner part of its orbit, the moon must now slow back down to its original speed, allowing the Earth to pass by. Lastly, as it passes behind the Earth, the moon must once again quickly accelerate back up to nearly 70,000 miles per hour before getting left in the dust. In addition to all of this, the Sun itself is allegedly orbiting the Milky Way galaxy at 448,000 miles per hour, further compounding the problems and calculations of the heliocentric model. If this were true, then the Earth, Moon, and other planets would all have yet another set of ridiculous and impossible corkscrewing accelerations and decelerations necessary just to keep up with the Sun. And for the cherry on top, all of these calculations have been assuming perfectly circular orbits, but the actual heliocentric model claims that the Moon's orbit around the Earth's orbit around the Sun, and the Sun's orbit around the Milky Way are all elliptical, not circular, meaning there would be even more additional accelerations and decelerations to calculate depending where each one is along its elliptical path. These constant and drastic accelerations and decelerations necessitated by the heliocentric model are rarely, if ever, mentioned by globe believers, because they have always been taught that the reason we do not feel or experience any of this supposed motion is because we always travel at a constant velocity. In their own model, however, due to their elliptical orbits and revolving around other revolving bodies, the Moon, Sun, Earth, and other planets could not maintain constant velocities, and would instead be regularly accelerating and decelerating. Yet, Meanwhile, you can stack a house of cards, make a rock cairn, or play a game of Jenga, all without any of this motion, acceleration, and deceleration ever being felt or experienced.
Well, there you go. Have you ever thought of it that way? I mean, he's got a good point, right? If the Earth is spinning around at a constant speed, and the moon's going around us with what we see, the phases of the moon, then yeah, it definitely would. It would be behind the Earth, and it would have to catch up. But yeah, let me know. What do you think about that? Are you a globe believer? Are you a non-globe believer? Are you a flat earther, as they call them? I definitely don't believe that we're a globe spinning through an endless vacuum. That makes no sense at all, and it doesn't match up with any of the physics that we know that operate down here on Earth. But I would love to hear your thoughts, especially if you still believe that we're an orb, right? A sphere spinning through space. How would you account for all these different anomalies that we don't feel? Right? It's the same thing, right? A mountain lake, right? That's purely glass, right? No movement at all. How does that happen on a moving globe? But especially when you factor in all these different speeds and ellipses and stuff. Like, yeah, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. How do you explain all this if we are a globe?
Everybody's always asking, how does it all work? This is the best explanation for how an electrical Earth works. Pay attention.
Our harmonic Earth, explained. Episode 11, The Electrical Earth. Now, we must understand that the Earth is not a dead rock hurling through space at unimaginable speeds. Instead, it is a living, breathing electrical machine, and the single source of a self-perpetuating power generator. The sun pumps 1.8 billion amps of current into the ionosphere, the upper layer of our atmosphere. This creates a voltage of 240,000 to 500,000 volts between the ionosphere and the ground. The atmosphere acts as a giant capacitor, storing this electrical energy. But the real power comes from the oceans. As tides move seawater through Earth's magnetic field, they generate electricity, just as a wire moving through a magnetic field generates current. Every kilometer of coastline produces about 25,000 amps. Multiply it by the 1.16 million kilometers of global coastline, and you get a theoretical maximum of 29 billion amps. The reason the 29 billion amps from the ocean doesn't create a trillion-volt atmosphere is because the ocean is grounded to the lithosphere, the crust of the Earth. Unlike the clouds, which lift charge high into the sky to create a potential difference, the ocean currents are already at the bottom of the circuit. They are moving the ground rather than charging the top plate of the capacitor. During a severe geomagnetic storm, the power being dumped into the polar ionosphere can exceed 1,000 gigawatts. This electricity flows through the ground itself, following natural conductors, mineral veins, aquifers, fault lines. Ancient peoples knew these as ley lines, and they built their sacred sites at the intersections where the current is strongest. These intersections are spaced about 72 harmonic length units apart, another harmonic of the 72-year cycle. The current returns to the sun through the auroras, those beautiful light shows at the poles. The magnetic field focuses the current at the north from the south, creating the stunning curtains of light we call the northern and southern lights, a dance of energies. The dance changes color based on which wire in the atmosphere the current is hitting. Green is current hitting oxygen at lower altitudes. Red is the current hitting oxygen at very high altitudes. Blue and purple, current hitting nitrogen. This is not mysticism. This is measurable, verifiable electrical engineering on a planetary scale. The Earth is a machine, and we are part of its harmonic circuit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't believe the Earth is a machine. I think, I understand what he was saying is it works a certain way, right? But we know that there is energy in the atmosphere, the ether energy. If you've looked into Tartaria, which I hope you have, that was a free energy society, and many people have shown us this in the last 100 or so years as well. Obviously, they've all been silenced, right? Because, the elites, those in control at the moment, they want us to pay for everything, right? They don't want us to know that we can get free energy, right? And not have to rely upon their systems. But yeah, the salt water is, it's using all batteries, right? It's definitely a big part of the electricity. I guess my question is electricity the same as earth energies? And I don't believe it is. The whole ley line system that he mentioned, that's not electrical. That's earth energy. That's clearly not electrical. No one's getting electrocuted or anything like this on ley lines. It's a different type of earth energy. The electricity, in my point of view, is being used against us. I think it's something that's been introduced, because you're watching me through electricity right now, and all of this stuff, all of this technology that goes against us, that we're told will make our life so much better, but ends up biting us in the butt. It's all electric, right? The whole ID, whatever it's called, internet ID, the tracking, the surveillance, it's all electric. But that's clearly different from earth energies that have been, tapped into, that have been enhanced and amplified through all the old world buildings, right? Like cathedrals and star forts and everything. This seems to be a different, more subtle energy. And that's our energy. Again, that is the earth. And, yes, they tell us that the sea has currents, right? Just like electricity, travels in currents. But I think what we need to do is reconnect with the actual earth energies, right? We need to go back to nature, because we are all earthlings. We're not some random, thing that has happened on this rock spinning through an endless void. That is a scam. That whole way of thinking makes you think that there is no creator, there is no creative force that we're connected with. We're just an anomaly, right? Spinning in nothingness. Like, it's not a very good way to live, to see life. Much better, in my opinion, to understand you are an earthling, you are connected to the earth, and everything we need is provided to us by the earth, and at no cost, right? The earth is plentiful, but this whole electric grid has put us in a state of scarcity. But please, let me know your thoughts.
Hey Mike, if you're walking down the street and the police stopped you and asked you for your name and address, do you have to give it?
Good question. Most people would think yes. And look, you can. But is there a law that says you have to provide your name and address? No, not at all. We're actually all protected by the Bill of Rights, and in that there's a right to silence. So you don't have to give your name, you don't have to give your address. In fact, you actually don't even have to answer any questions. You could just walk away. So just be aware that there's no power of arrest. It's not lawful for an officer to tell you or threaten you they're going to arrest you if you don't provide it. If you don't want to give your name and address, you don't have to. Follow me. Thanks, man.
Well, of course you don't have to. Because their whole system is an imposed system, right? That they are trying to trick us into believing that we need to follow. And you really don't. But of course, they have guns and police and jails and courts and all of this stuff. So all of this law, this legal stuff, law, L-A-W, not the actual true law, L-O-R-E, but their legal system is all based on threats, right? The threat of theft or incarceration, right? If you don't do what we tell you, we're going to steal your money or lock you up. That's it. So you don't have to, and it's even in their legal system that you don't have to, but they're not going to tell you this. So the main thing about, the law and doing things like this is, you're going to be the one talking to the policeman or whoever about this. So, we have to all take this at our own pace. Like, yes, it needs to collapse, it needs to fall, but don't get yourself in trouble out there if you don't fully understand it and you're not prepared to go the distance, right? But if you are in that space, then I would say go for it, because we definitely need to collapse this fake, false legal system that they are pushing on us and using to control us.
Word your name. I've said this in a recent video, and a lot of you asked, how do you word your name? I'm going to tell you how, and I'm going to tell you why you absolutely need to be wording your name and transmuting the energy. I've done this several times. It always works. It's always good to do it ever so often. It is very simple, but very effective. This is the true definition of work smarter, not harder. No matter if you're going through bad times in life or good times in life, people will always have something to say. Okay? That's fact. We know this to be true. People love to gossip. People love to be jealous and send the evil eye. People love to talk. Look at Bridgerton, okay? All based around Lady Whistledown. A gossip column, even way back when. Talk is something that people love to do. So now you're going to make it work for you. Now what I'm holding in my hand, we all have. We all have a phone. All of us usually have cases on our phone. So you can do 2 of these, you can do 1 of them, but you could put it in your phone as well. You're going to get a pen and paper. There are several variations of how you can word this. Get creative with it. You're going to write, any time my name is spoken, good or bad, more abundance, more blessings, good fortune and favor, golden opportunities, good health, flow my way effortlessly and with ease, for the good of all and harm to none. Let me just take a moment for the sun, okay? This golden hour glow, it's everything. Now you can add more things in there, but the gist of it is that anytime your name is spoken, that energy is transmuted in the form of more blessings and abundance. So that whether you are being spoken about in a bad way or a good way, that is still energy being sent towards you and your name. And then you are taking that energy and you are transmuting it in your favor. Now, you could take that piece of paper when you're done with it, sign it, whatever you want to do with it, fold it towards you a few times. You can either just put it somewhere safe or you can pop it in your phone case. This is also really good for people that have social media handles. If you're somebody that is an influencer or you're doing things on social media, you can also word the name that you use on social media, even if it's a business. But wording your name is a wonderful way to take energy sent in your direction and make sure that it is always being used for your highest good. But take this as your sign, if you're seeing this, to word your name. Blessed be, darlings.
Yes, well, I've definitely been, mentioned in both ends of that spectrum, both good and bad. And this is the thing, when you read things and people say, nasty or not nice things, it does affect you. You think, I don't take it on board, but I'm always a bit like, oh my God, really? But I guess wording your name, you've changed that whole perception is one of it, and the energy of it. So I think that sounds like a great idea. Word your name, right? So then if people are saying nasty things about you, you've got the perception that that's just going to bring you more wealth, more abundance, more of what you want, more of who you are. So why not? Are you going to give it a go? Let me know in the comments. And I couldn't help but notice that word backwards is draw. So we're drawing something out of it. And of course, a ward is a protector in the old, use of that word. And of course, today we have hospital wards, right? Not really protecting you. So change that meaning, transmute it, as she said, and draw from it, draw something good by wording your name.
It's crazy that we live in a time right now where intelligent people have to stay silent so that stupid people don't get offended.
Yes, it is.
Imagine being told that God himself authorized the theft of your land, the enslavement of your people, and the destruction of your civilization. That document exists, and it was written in 1452, and it wasn't formally disavowed until 2023. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V issued Dum Diversas, authorizing the Portuguese crown to invade Africa, seize its lands, and reduce its people to perpetual slavery. In 1455, he expanded those powers to cover all lands Portugal had seized and would seize. In 1493, Pope Alexander VI extended the same permission to Spain, drawing a line across the Atlantic and dividing the so-called non-Christian world between two European kingdoms. This was the doctrine of discovery. Any land not inhabited by Christians was free to be invaded and exploited. Its people had no rights a Christian was bound to respect. But this wasn't a theological statement. It was a business arrangement. Portugal and Spain didn't come to the Vatican for moral guidance. They came for permission to get rich. Through the patronato real, the crowns funneled a percentage of every colonized territory's resources back to the church. The more they seized, the more they enslaved, the wealthier they became. This wasn't the voice of God. It was the voice of greed dressed in the robes of God. They didn't need to believe it was true. They just needed the paperwork. What followed is beyond counting. Millions killed, millions more destroyed by famine, forced labor, debt, and deliberate poverty. The death toll didn't end when the colonizers left. It continued through IMF policies, rigged trade agreements, and the suppression of African sovereignty. It continues today because the powers responsible have never intended to dismantle the system that funds their place in the world. The doctrine of discovery made it all possible, not by making men monsters, but by making Africans something less than men. The killing didn't require cruelty. It required belief. On March 30th, 2023, 571 years after the first papal bull, the Vatican formally repudiated the doctrine of discovery, said the documents had been manipulated for political purposes. Manipulated. That's the word that they chose for 600 years of African genocide, slavery, and theft. The church today holds assets worth trillions, built on tithes, slave plantations, and a percentage of every resource their papal bulls unlocked. They wrote the doctrine, they collected the dividends, and when they finally admitted it was wrong, they didn't return a single dollar. They just stopped claiming it was God's idea. And if you didn't know, now you know.
Religion and the false gods. This is what it's been used for. Religion has killed more people, started more wars than anything else, at least in our remembered timeline, our remembered history, what we're told. And this is what it's still being used for today, to steal land, to steal resources, to control people. This is not God, clearly, right? This is not God, clearly, like not the creator God, right? The big G God. And, I don't really even use that word anymore. It's the creator, right? The creative force. I don't see God as a person, like a being, sitting wherever in heaven on a cloud, all this kind of stuff. God to me is an energy. It's a frequency, the energy that animates and binds all things, right? That we are a part of. It is within us and without us. It's omnipotent, right? Which means it's everywhere. Like they say this in all the books. God is omnipotent, which means it's in you. Jesus said this as well. But to me, all of this is just about division as well. Obviously she's of African, thinks, what we're told is African descent. My belief on that is different. I think she's American. I think that all the blacks in America were there and their history has been stolen from them. I think that they're the Moors. And so the history of Africa is something completely different than what we've been told. But I don't want to get into that. It'll go too far. But basically, the message I get from this is that religion and the people who run it, they don't like you. They are not people, doing things to enhance humanity and to help the people. It's clearly a control system, and all it's about is division and stealing wealth and resources, and that's it. Look at colonization, right? Look at tithing. Look at the Vatican. It's worth billions at least, probably trillions. Is it out there helping people in poverty? No. Is it out there helping the earth to, and regenerating and stopping massive multinational corporations from destroying nature? No, not at all. It just wants to sit up there on its golden throne and tell people what they should do and how they should live. And that always ends up benefiting the church, not the people.
For over 2 centuries, the Rothschild family has controlled more wealth than most nations. Kings trusted them. Governments depended on them. For many people, the scale of the Rothschilds' power was difficult to explain. How could one family build and maintain influence across entire continents for so long? Over time, different theories started appearing. Claims about hidden bloodlines, secret experiments, even rumors that the family itself is connected to reptilian origins. Most of those ideas were dismissed as exaggeration, but when historians started looking at the family's own records, things became far more complicated. Between 1824 and 1877, around 70% of marriages within key branches of the Rothschild family were between blood relatives, most of them first cousins. Now, marriages between relatives weren't unusual among European elites at the time. But what stood out here wasn't that it happened. It was how often it happened and why. And the more researchers looked into it, the more it stopped looking like tradition and started looking like a pattern. But mapping that pattern isn't as simple as it sounds. Parts of the family tree don't line up. Some records are incomplete, and certain names seem to vanish from the historical trail altogether. That's why today we're cutting through centuries of secrecy to answer one question. What is the genetic secret of the most powerful family in the world? The pattern in the family records. Historians who study the Rothschild family archives often begin with something simple: the family tree. At first glance, it looks like any other aristocratic genealogy from Europe. Names stretch across generations, connecting branches of a dynasty that helped shape finance and politics for more than 2 centuries. But when researchers started examining these records more carefully, something unusual began to appear. The same names kept returning again and again. Sons named after fathers, daughters carrying the names of aunts and grandmothers. That alone was not strange, since many traditional families repeated names across generations. What caught the attention of historians was how often those names were connected through marriage. Marriage records preserved in family documents showed a recurring pattern. Cousins were marrying cousins. Close relatives were forming new family branches that were still tied to the same shared grandparents. At first, these connections seemed occasional, the kind of marriages that sometimes happened in aristocratic circles where social circles were small. But as researchers continued mapping the family tree, the pattern became far more consistent than anyone expected. Instead of spreading outward into many unrelated families, certain branches of the Rothschild lineage seemed to bend inward. Genealogical charts showed the same surnames linking together again across decades. Lines that should have been separated began to reconnect through marriage agreements. Over time, the family tree looked less like a wide network and more like a carefully connected structure. Then historians noticed another detail that added to the mystery. Some individuals appeared briefly in correspondence or genealogical notes, but then seemed to disappear from later records. A name might appear in a family letter or a marriage announcement, yet later documents did not always follow their lives in the same way as other relatives were documented. These gaps were small, but they appeared often enough to raise questions among researchers who were trying to understand the full structure of the dynasty. As more family records from different cities were compared, the pattern became clearer. The Rothschild network stretched across major European capitals, including London, Paris, Vienna, Frankfurt, and Naples. Even though these branches operated in different countries, the family maintained remarkably close internal connections. Marriage alliances repeatedly brought relatives from these cities back together into the same bloodline. But why would one of the most powerful financial dynasties in Europe organize its family relationships in such a tightly controlled way? Wealthy families often married within their social class, but the Rothschild pattern appeared more systematic than simple tradition. Researchers eventually realized that the pattern they were seeing was not accidental. And this pattern did not begin by accident. It started with a set of rules created by the man who founded the entire Rothschild dynasty, the founder's strategy. The story of the Rothschild dynasty begins in the city of Frankfurt, in a narrow district that once served as the center of the Jewish community.
Inbreds, that's what they are. And we all know this, right? You know, that's the whole bloodline thing, the whole consolidation of wealth and keeping to their, you know, that's what we're sort of told, right? It's all about money, but it seems to be about bloodlines. And one thought that came to me, you know, when they were saying the names kept repeating, you know, is that like Highlander, right? And we kept changing his identity every, 50 or so years because he was an immortal. Do these people live longer than us? You know, and there's a lot of talk about this online recently and all the weirdness that's going on. But is that a way of disguising that they're actually living longer, right? They just keep their name and say, no, it's now the next generation. I don't know, but let me know your thoughts. And while I've got you, thank you for spending time with me. I hope you're enjoying this little romp through the strange realm we find ourselves in. If you are, please do give me a like, hype it up if you can, share it around, all that kind of stuff. Let's help get this info out to more people. And of course, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button.
Never mix cloves with coconut oil unless you want to make your dentist lose money. Stop paying gold for fix what the earth can heal for free. Take old cloves, a cinnamon stick, and fresh ginger. Steep them in a warm water for 30 minutes, then add 2 spoons of coconut oil. Rinse your mouth for 60 seconds after you brush. This liquid fire pull the poison out of your gums and kill the rat in the root. It not just hide bad breath, it destroy the bacteria and draw out the toxins naturally. Your mouth will feel like a fresh mountain spring. If you want more videos like this, comment yes, and don't forget to follow.
Yeah, we have all the answers already, right? We just need to get them out to the general public, I guess. You know, they're telling us to use fluoride, right? And all these chemicals to, you know, look after our teeth, but clearly it's not working. So there you go. There's an option for you if you need to get your teeth sorted. I definitely have a few discolored teeth at this point, so I think I'll give it a go.
This has got to be one of my favourite spruces. This is why the government does not want us to know about this technology. You'll be frightened to death. Look at them, look how fast they go. They can kidnap people from your home and they're off. Guys, tell me what you think.
Well, that was either a very big person or a very small UFO. What do you think UFOs are? I mean, there's clearly something going on. Do you think they're space aliens? Do you think that they're aliens from this realm? Because alien just means someone not from here. Are they underwater? Are they USOs? Are they from outer lands? Is it DARPA and the government? You know, we just don't know, but apparently they're going to tell us, right? All this disclosure talk, they're really, really ramping up the UFO stuff. That's probably why they went to the moon recently. And, you know, all these whistleblowers coming out, all these government officials, they're going to tell us, or are they just going to show us Project Bluebeam and use that to control us more? Let me know your thoughts.
We built a new internet that pays you to use it. It's free to use, it's private and secure, and it's all owned by you. Every time you search something, you get paid for it. Anytime anyone sends a message to their friends, you get paid for it. Oh yeah, and the whole thing is funding a universal basic income, which means we'll be able to fund collectively healthcare, education, food, housing, and energy. Oh, and did I say the whole thing is owned by you and not some overreaching government or tyrannical company? Sorry, tyrannical government and overreaching company? I get those mixed up sometimes. And when I say you're an owner, I mean it. I mean you are an owner of the entire thing, and also an owner of every single new project to ever exist on the new internet moving forward. Okay, but Seth, what about taxes? What about taxes on the Sovereign Network? As long as you keep the tokens inside the Sovereign Network, it's a tax-free environment. The only taxable event is when you exchange them off the network for a United States dollar, or any other fiat currency for that matter. All together, this makes a new digital society, fully equipped with a democracy with voting mechanism and a full-blown working economy that's beneficial to all and not just a select few. If you like how any of this sounds, we're in beta. We're in beta and we need you now! Go to thesovereignnetwork.org, sign up for the beta waitlist. You will be notified the moment you'll be able to download it onto your phones, iOS or Android. Work wherever you are around the globe, and we encourage you to take full advantage of everything that the Sovereign Network has to offer. That also means making your for-profit services and DAOs and non-profit services and DAOs and anything to your heart's content. If this sounds like something you would like to support, give us a like, give us a follow, drop a comment, say something nice because it makes me feel good. And check out the rest of the links in the bio, the website, the GoFundMe, the GitHub, the Discord. Stay tuned here because I will let you know the moment you'll be able to download it onto your phones.
Sovereignnetwork.org, where we definitely need more ideas like this. Right. And like I said, we've already got all the answers. We just need to start enacting them. I went there to the site. It's not up and running yet, but I've put my name down. They're going to let me know when it's up and running and usable. And, I think we all need to get behind ideas like this. Right. And I'm not saying it's going to work and it's going to be the new internet, but people are out there at least giving it a go. Right. And we definitely need our own internet. Like this one it's becoming a massive control network. That's it, right? The internet is eating itself, with all the AI, all the bots, all the stuff, all the advertising. It's no longer a place to share information, right? It's a place to be restricted. And of course, we're all out here trying to use it to get the truth out. But imagine, a non-restrictive internet, where you weren't censored and you could say what you want, that was owned by the people and for the people. And, he did mention the universal basic income. Of course, for a lot of us, that's like a bit of a red flag, right? But he also said that money would be going to rebuild infrastructure, which I think is a great use for it. It's not this handing out money to people so they can live without doing anything. We've got to rebuild this world, this society, this infrastructure, so that it is for us and not against us. But let me know your thoughts on it. Have you checked it out? What do you know about it? And there we go, guys. We have come to the end of a short stroll through the strange realm we find ourselves in. If you did enjoy this, please do give me a like, share it around, hype it up, all that good stuff. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought about the videos, about what I've said. Of course, don't believe anything, that you hear here. It's all about coming to your own conclusions. And most importantly, guys, stay awesome. And I'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Give it. Give it.
To live in New York 20 years ago. And I was interviewed on NBC.
High five. Too slow. Ginger! Ginger! Look at me!
Are you mad? Come here. Come.
He turned his head.
Come.
Bad boy. Look.
No.
Jay, thank you very much.
You want a treat, buddy? You want a treat? Got your ass.
Kasi pag nakaka-uwi kami doon sa probinsya, naalala ko talaga, masaya talaga yung probinsya.
Back up. Back up. What the hell? Is this your elbow? Or is this your elbow?